Adam Collins and Mike Hussey for Crick Buzz. At the end of the Abu Dhabi Test match, indeed, the end of the two-test series. It feels weird calling it a series in two tests, but we'll deal with what we get. Pakistan flogged Australia. 373 runs was the margin, but remarkably, Australia had the hosts 57 for 5 on the opening morning. They really threw it away, didn't they?
Unbelievable turnaround from Pakistan. They were in all kinds of trouble. Nathan Lyon picked up 4 for none before lunch, had Pakistan 5 for 57. They were looking down the barrel and then ended up winning the test match by over 300 runs. It's a phenomenal turnaround. They played some excellent cricket, put Australia under enormous pressure. The batters, firstly, after lunch did a great job. Sarfaraz and Fakhar played beautifully, and then their bowlers, well, Mohammad Abbas, what a bowler he's been all series. He got 10 wickets for the match, and they just romped home. And another couple of batting collapses for Australia, which has been a huge problem.
Let's deal with the positive. The major positive for Pakistan out of this match is probably Fakhar Zaman's arrival. We waited a long time to see him play Test cricket, but twin 50s, probably should have made a ton in the first dig if not for a really good catch. He seems like the sort of guy who is born to play all 3 formats.
I just love the youthful exuberance, you know. He's so positive, so attacking, gets the team off to that flying start. He was under a bit of pressure as well. You can imagine he's on debut, clatter of wickets at the other end, but he managed to stick it out and then got through that period and then really started to dominate the Australians after lunch. Played beautifully once again. So much great stroke play, particularly square of the wicket, and I love his cover drive as well.
And as for Mohammad Abbas, you mentioned his 10 wickets for the match, player of the match and player of the series. Isn't it great that in 2018, where there's such an emphasis on pace, that a bowler, a seam bowler like Mohammad Abbas, that bowls at maybe 78 or 79 miles an hour, can dominate?
Well, and dominate he did. He was just so disciplined, so consistent with his line and length, and we probably weren't expecting him to be as effective in the UAE, where the pitches are generally very flat. But he got the ball to reverse a little bit, just got a little bit of seam movement, but it was his disciplined line and length that was the key, and built up pressure, tested the defence of the Australian batsmen, and that they just succumbed to it. And once he got his tail up and his confidence up, you could just see he sort of grew an arm and a leg almost, and just kept bowling, great deliveries, and it was just too good for the Aussies.
The Australians did have those terrible collapses with the bat. Justin Langer, after the game, talked about the fact that he wanted to see players with technique more than mental strength. That is to say, you can develop mental strength later, but if you haven't got the skills, you can't pay the bills, in short. What's your take on that? Why have we got a generation of Australian batsmen coming through who the coach doesn't necessarily think are quite up to scratch?
Yeah, it's an interesting comment, I guess. I think you probably need a bit of both, but maybe you need to start with the basics first. Get the technique right, learn a really good solid defence, learn about batting long periods of time, and then I guess the mental toughness grows from that. So, yeah, interesting comment, but maybe that's where he's coming from, and that's, I think, one thing the Australian batsmen, not just in this current team, but also the younger guys playing Sheffield Shield cricket, almost a case of, okay, well, we need to learn how to just almost hang in there and survive for a period of time. Just stonewall for half an hour. If the oppositions are bowling well, learn how to get through those tough periods. That the Australians have been finding different ways of getting out, and some are going hard at it and think, okay, let's try and be positive. Others are trying to survive but just aren't good enough to survive. So we need some batsmen that are able to just identify the situation. It's not easy. Yes, they're bowling well, but it will get easier if we stay here longer. And you need a good solid technique and defence to be able to get through those periods.
Are there any noticeable changes to the Australian domestic system, which means that they haven't had the same sort of prolific players that perhaps they had in your generation?
Well, it's hard to say, and it's hard to judge the different generations. We did go through a period of time in Australian cricket history where the youth was really promoted and promoted quickly. So some of the younger players that came in didn't necessarily have to do a lot to make it into the Australian team and get their opportunity. And with that comes, I believe, a bit of a losing culture, and you don't really earn that spot, or you don't really, you can just take it for granted a little bit. So I would love to see guys, dominating the level below, really earn that right to play for Australia, and then once you get it, you fight tooth and nail to keep it, and I think that's a good philosophy to have. I think now we're sort of starting to go back to more the merit sort of system, which is a good thing in my view, but certainly I just wonder also whether now that T20 cricket's come into the world game, that guys aren't paying as much attention or practicing as much on the idea of the basic technique, the solid defence. It's more about scoring runs as quickly as you can and moving the game forward as fast as you can. And whether that's just infiltrated through the techniques a little bit, perhaps there's some merit in that as well.
Mike Hussey, thanks for your insights throughout the course of this 2 Test match series for Crick Buzz. Adam Collins and Mike Hussey signing off.